Hello guys and girls, how's it going? Screezilla here, and welcome to a quick history of / plane review of the Redesign RE2001 Falco CN, or Night Fighter as you may. Now, this plane I just started flying yesterday really. I just thought I'd take it out for a couple of quick zips to unlock the 2000 pre-production series, I think it was. And I was just having a bit of a play around in it, really, just having a look and see how it fought and flew. And to my surprise and, well, joy, the plane was actually quite fun to use. So anyway, first of all, we'll get on to a little bit of history. So the Redesign RE2001 Falco CN, or Night Fighter, as I said, was designed in the late 1930s. The RE2001 was a large development on the underpowered RE2000 Falco, now with a new Alfa Romeo inline 12-cylinder engine built under license and, you know, designed after, all set together now, the Daimler-Benz 601. Yes, the DB601, the engine that pretty much every access plane has in the world. Now, a huge leap over the Piaggio radial engine. Taking flight in July of 1940, after a few tweaks and things like that, the plane performed well in its early test flights. However, the Italian aviation industry, the army, the Reggiani, the Italian Air Force, decided that the plane needed a redesign, and that was because the fuel tanks were actually internal originally and sat in the plane's fuselage at the back of the plane to give it a better counterbalance, a little bit better weight distribution, things like that. But the Reggiani wanted the fuel tanks to be in the wing, so this plane had to go through rather large redesigns, and this did mean the plane was rather delayed. The delay did not help the plane as well, allowing its cheaper rival, the Macchi MC202, to basically get the dibs over the DB601 engine built by Alfa Romeo. Most experts say the planes are rather similar in their strengths and weaknesses. The 202 and 2001 are both very similar planes. However, when you look at them, they're very different design principles. The 2001 is a much larger plane. It is very similar to things like the Spitfire, for instance, whereas the 202 is a little bit smaller and goes towards the BF109 route of design and things like that. Here I'm just having a look through the cockpit. Now, with the fuel tank redesign, the plane was now a year behind schedule. Pretty much an exact year behind. It was actually a year and 1 month behind scheduled sort of production, and this really hurt the plane. A very low number of vehicles were built overall. Now the Cassia Notoriana, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Italian viewers. I'm so sorry. I try, okay? Which means Night Fighter, of course, only managed to get out 34 planes out of an order of 50. So as you can see, very low number of planes. Now, Italy was in an absolute dire state at this stage of the war, and materials were very low, and this hurt the nation. Now, a lot of the sort of expertise and materials were going towards things like the Navy, we're going towards tank designs, we're going towards gun designs, we're going in other directions, and some vehicles, like the planes, tended to miss out on this. And you can see this with a lot of Italian vehicles, is they really did suffer quite a bit. Now, the Night Fighter variant had twin 20mm machine guns, the MG151, unsurprisingly, cannons in gondolas underneath the wings. And as you can see, as we do a roll here, perfect view of them, you can see the gondola just underneath the wing, next to the fuel tanks, sorry, next to the oil, the radiators even, and between the landing gear and the radiator, basically. And this was to help with firepower. Now, these were replaced, these basically replaced the 7.7mm Brada machine guns that were in the wings with the other two 001 counterparts. The vehicle did keep the twin 12.7mm Brada heavy machine guns in the nose, however. The other big addition to this plane were the exhaust mufflers, and you can see on the plane just left and right of the engine, just underneath the air intake, are these exhaust muzzlers, and these are designed to stop the flash of the exhaust basically. So it makes the plane a harder plane to see at night. And of course this was a night fighter. Not only that, it also got a very sexy paint job in this beautiful black paint scheme. The plane was favoured by many of the Italian pilots, most of which were actually saying that the plane was better than the Marchi MC202. Many pilots favoured it over that, especially because of the sort of the plane's ability to turn better. It was just a little bit of a better plane overall. We're coming in on our attack runs now, and going head on for a moment. We managed to set fire to the French fighter. We pull up. Now this plane is pretty much stock at this stage, I will just let you know. We come up, there's a Typhoon in our flight path, chasing one of our friendlies, trying to get on target. We managed to get there, and we set it on fire. 2 good fires, that is 2 plane kills, that is a good job. And it's also thrown the pilot, who was the plane who was chasing, into an ability to fight other people. Now as you can see, we were in a bit of a dire state here in the match, and we were in some really big trouble because the planes were, well, there was a real big Allied dog pile at the bottom of us. However, they stayed low, and this is a really bad idea because the 2001 and other Italian fighters are very good low altitude fighters. Now we've got a P-40F and an A-36 coming in on us at the moment, so we try and avoid as much as we can, but when there's 3 or 4 planes coming in on you, there's not much you can do right here. So we're dodging as well as we can right here, and you can see the manoeuvrability of this plane right now. It is very, very good, and you can really outfly a lot of the Allied fighters. Well, this plane excels below 7,000 meters or 21,000 feet, and that's where it really becomes very, very good. And you can see as well, this plane has taken a heap of damage now. Our wings are a bit screwed, and we're actually unable to really get any lift out of our wings at the moment. Now I try and chase the P400 there, but I simply can't. I don't have enough wing left to do it, and you can see the holes in the wings there. One of the things I'd say about this plane is it's extremely durable, and it just can take a really good beating. The wings are very, very strong. It gives you that ability to take a couple of hits and not die, which is always a nice thing. Now, in history, the 2001 was a really good fighter, and it was basically able to outfight pretty much all of the Spitfires up to the Mark V. Once the later Mark Vs were coming out, then it started to have a little bit of problem. But when you're actually dogfighting Mark V Spitfires, you're doing pretty well, and this plane did excel in that remark. It would actually be able to outturn and outmaneuver most Spitfires below that set altitude of 7,000 meters, 21,000 feet, without too much problem. And as I said, that is a huge boon for this plane. It really does help it in an enormous amount. The plane was also extremely good against the Hurricane. Now, one of the things about this plane is we'll just actually switch to a different camera view here and swing it around. If you look at this plane front on, and say you were looking through binoculars, the plane does look very much like a Hurricane, and this was actually a large strength to this plane. An attack with the bombing variant of this plane, there was actually a variant of this plane that would carry a 16,000 pound bomb. It was a shrapnel bomber, basically a very heavy encased bomb with a relatively high amount of high explosives inside, and they were dropping it on HMS Glorious, the aircraft carrier. Now, they were coming in for an attack and received no anti-aircraft fire, and all of the Italian pilots were thinking, well, this is pretty good, this is working well for us. And the reason they weren't receiving any anti-aircraft fire is because a flight of Hurricanes had gone out prior to them, and the captain of the ship and the spotters all thought that the Hurricanes were returning to their ship. However, when one of the planes dropped a bomb on Glorious's deck, the crew sort of decided, well, no, actually, these are definitely not Hurricanes, these are probably an Italian plane, and started firing. Now, extremely lucky moment for the British crew of HMS Glorious was the bomb didn't go off. So the bomb rolled harmlessly off the deck and went to the seabed. But still, this was a big advantage of the plane because people thought it was a Hurricane for some time, and misspotting a plane is a big thing. Now, a lot of the other Italian planes had very significant looks to them, and same with the German planes. This plane just looked a little bit more British, a little bit more like a Hurricane, a little bit more like a Spitfire. So it did often get mistaked for those vehicles. The plane was relatively successful. It managed very well in the skies, and as I said, many of the pilots did really enjoy the vehicle. Now, in-game, well, actually, one more thing, actually. The reason this plane failed was simply resources. The Italian Air Force did not have enough resources to keep the plane being made and things like that, so it did really hurt this vehicle and meant that the plane sort of petered out. By the armistice, I think only about 30-odd planes were left. About 12 of those in the hands of the Allied side, and 17 odd for the Germans, so there weren't many left at the end of the stages. The plane was also a bed for the much more advanced RE2005, a plane that I expect we will be seeing in the near future, and that plane is pretty much equal to things like the G55s and things like that, the late model planes. So it will be interesting to see when we do get that fighter coming in, what else will come in with those designs. Now, in-game, as I said, this plane is extremely durable. We can see here, as I said, if we look through the wings, we can see more sky than wing at some stages, and that really does help the plane out because you just have a little bit more durability on the wings. You can take a few 50 cals. They will cause a lot of damage, but you'll still be able to fly. The engine is very good as well. The DB609 is, sorry, DB601 even, again, a really good engine and very, very handy. Of course, the pilot doesn't have much armour protection. The fuel tanks, however, are in the fuselage almost. So, as you can see, they did put the fuel tanks in the wing. So you can see here the fuel tanks just here. But they put them basically underneath the pilot and then a small auxiliary fuel tank behind the pilot. And this means that when people are shooting your wings, you are less prone to fire. Again, a really helpful thing. So the plane performs extremely well in game, I found. Now, this was I think this was my first or second game in the plane, and it performed outstandingly. The 20mm deal enough damage. The 12.7mm in the nose, again, are very, very useful. The plane flies extremely well and is very manoeuvrable as well. At low altitudes, this thing turns so very, very well. At a BR of 2.7 as well, it may be a little bit under-tiered. This plane is very, very good, as I said, and you're going to be facing planes that are not really its equal, planes that are much less advanced than this plane and not nearly as good, and that really does help you out for this fighter. It is a really handy thing. The main sort of good points on this plane, the main points of this plane are the fact that you've got very good firepower, you've got a fantastic engine, you're very durable, and you've got very good manoeuvrability. The one downside to this plane is speed and altitude gain. So we'll just head to the hangar and just have a look at it in the hangar view. So as you can see with the 2000 series, we've got the first with the 2000, and then we've got the, goes down to the 2002 oddly enough, the early designs with the inline, the radial engine, and then we go to the 2001 series. So the 2001 series, we've got two fighters, one's a fighter bomber, one's a standard fighter, and then at 2.7 we've got the night fighter variant with the 20mm. As I said, many people believe this plane was equal or better than the 202. When you look at the 202 with the 20mm cannons, you're looking at 3.3 BR. With the 201, you're looking at 2.7. The plane is a little bit slower. It feels a little bit more sluggish than the 202, but it turns much better with its elliptical wing design. Just hit some customization here. With its elliptical wing design very similar to the Spitfire, it turns extremely well, and at low to mid altitude this plane performs very, very well indeed. The plane's also got a really good cockpit view as well. If you are playing this vehicle in sim, one of the good things about the Italian planes is they have this very strange little headrest here, where they've got this little cutout for the pilots to basically be able to see behind them, and it is a really big advantage because it does allow you to have that bit of extra vision behind you and can sort of see if somebody's sitting on your six. The other thing about this plane is it's quite a tall plane as well. The plane's not small by any means, but it is quite stumpy. So it's not very long, but it is quite wide. It is also quite a tall plane. If we head to the X-ray view, you can see where the pilot sits, and you can see just how high up he is. There's quite a lot of room underneath him. Much of this is to do with that redesigned fuel tank, because the wings had to be sort of made a little bit deeper in the fuselage area. Now, the other disadvantage of the Night Fighter is simply the gun pods. Because the 20mm are set in a gondola underneath the wing, it does add a little bit more drag. You also do get the option of taking out a bomb, so you've got the option of taking out a GP250. So a 250 kilogram bomb, which is quite handy. It's enough to take out a tank without too much problem. So this plane has got a use on ground forces battles as well, because you've got the ability to drop a bomb on a tank and cause a nice bit of damage. The plane will then work as a great fighter / ground strafer, so it's got some good options in its arsenal, and you can see why it is the top of the tree of the 2000 series for the moment. Now, of course, this did lead on to the design of some other variants of the 2000s, with the 2005 being the peak, the pinnacle of the vehicle's design in the end. But we still don't have that in game. I imagine we will be seeing it at some stage though. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and especially watching to the end. Let me know in the comments if there's any vehicles you really would like to see some history done on, or if you would like to talk more on this plane as well. I'd love to hear your opinions on this vehicle too. Okay guys, until next time, this is me, Carl Screezilla, out. Bye bye.